What does marriage mean to you? What about commitment, communication, and building a solid foundation? Well, let me put it to you like this. Marriage ain't easy. My grandmother, Gloria Bolden, and my grandfather, Paul Bolden, have been together for 65 years. They were high school sweethearts. Now, my wife and I, on the other hand, we are not high school sweethearts, but we've been together 17 years and married for 14 very successful years. Today, I want to take just a little bit of your time and tell you how to have and how to live a successful marriage. How to create a foundation, how to be committed to your husband and your wife, and why communication is a major step in a successful marriage. A marriage foundation is built on godly principle, first and foremost. Marriage must be built on godly principle. Ephesians 5:22 states, wives are subject to their own husbands as the Lord, for the husband is the head of his wife, as Christ was head of the church. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church. That's Ephesians 5:22. That is just a few verses that are in Ephesians that set a Bible marriage principle. Your first step, without God as a solid foundation, you have no principle to build on. My wife and I's marriage would not be where it's at if it was not built on a biblical, godly principle. Now, I've given you the first step in how to establish a foundation. You have you have then to focus on your second step, which is commitment. You must be ready for commitment. Are you mature? Commitment is described as both dedication and restraint. Dedication must consist of investing, improving, and sacrificing for your relationship. And husbands, know that your sacrifice will sometimes be a little greater than your wife's. That's why the biblical principle states that the husband is the head. We have the responsibility. Also, let's go into the restraint part, the factors that factor into your social life. That was Moore, Jecker, Guzman, Red, and Ryan, where that information came from. The commitment step is taking a long-term perspective towards one's relationship, having an intention to preserve difficulties when they arise, and being committed to caring for that other person, setting yourself aside, putting your spouse first in every aspect. Once you've dedicated commitment to your marriage, you have to be able to communicate. this is your third step, and very important. Communication is not merely exchanging information. You express your feelings when you communicate. Communication is not just speaking. Communication is body language, facial expressions, voice tone. Voice tone, very important. Um, you can easily get the wrong understanding by the tone of a voice, such as if I was to raise my voice like this, you would think of anger as me just being subtle and saying, or having a conversation at a room octave. Uh, Talking and listening are also two aspects of communication. So it's not always just talking, it's also listening. Being able to take what your spouse may have to share with you, or even be able to agree to disagree. So it's not just talking, it's also listening. Now, this is just a small but important piece of living a successful marriage. You always build your foundation on godly principles. Then your commitment, remember, is not only to your marriage relationship, but it's also to God, the foundation. And finally, communication. If you cannot communicate properly, how can you be committed? And if you cannot be committed, how can you go on to build a strong foundation? This is why communication is a very important step. I hope I was able to provide to you some of the first basic steps to a successful marriage. I hope my presentation helped you understand what marriage means and the steps to success in your marriage. I have attached a list of questions you can use to see how successful your marriage or your current relationship is. Thank you, and I hope you take the time to go over the questionnaire that I have left for you, class.